All right, welcome to tonight's school committee meeting for Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. I'd like to call to order our meeting and approval of the agenda. May I have approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, Steve. Thank you, Pauline.
Yeah, paying attention.
Okay, any comments from the public tonight?
I just have one question, so I won't waste anybody's time tonight. Article 8 on the agenda, the food service financial report, you'll be discussing that at the next meeting?
That is
That's
on
correct.
the agenda for the next meeting, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, thanks. Moving on to presentations and discussions. Mr. Bucky, if you'd like to join us for the advanced placement results, please.
Coming up, Dr. Bucky. Oh,
I'm going to stand here at
Oh,
the
okay.
podium if you like.
okay.
Great, thank you.
So I appreciate the scores of people who have turned out for the annual advanced placement results presentation. It's very nice to see such a supportive group. I want to balance the presentation, taking into consideration that some of you have heard the advanced placement presentation several times in the past, and to take into consideration that this will be Steve's first jump into the pool known as advanced placement. So I want to provide a little background information as to the advanced placement program, and then talk a little bit about our results this year. So the hallmark of our advanced placement program is open enrollment. We allow any student who wants to undertake the workload and the rigor of an advanced placement course the opportunity to do that. I get on this soapbox every year that the suburban schools outside of Boston promote these wonderful advanced placement results, but if you pull back the curtain, they have created barriers for students to enroll in those courses, and then if they're not doing well in the courses, they encourage them not to take the exam. We take just the opposite approach. We open the door and say, if you want to sit in an advanced placement class and do the work, you're welcome to do it, but at the end of this class, you must take the advanced placement exam. Now, do we encourage a student that's last math class was CP Algebra 2 to sign up for AP Calculus? No, but they might enroll in AP Stats. And if they sit in an AP Stats class and end up with a 2 on the exam, I'm as happy with that as I am the student who gets a 5 on the advanced placement calculus. So what are advanced placement courses? They're college level courses that are offered in the high school. The teacher is required to submit the syllabus to the college board for approval for the books and materials and the scope and sequence that they will follow. Students take an AP exam at the end of the course. Each exam is about 3 hours long. They're composed of multiple choice and open response. Teachers and college professors then grade these exams in June. We are fortunate that one of our AP teachers, Stacy Eswald, a couple years ago was selected to go and grade the AP Lang exams. I think she said they did something like 900 exams over the course of 5 days.
Wow.
So it's professionally very rigorous, but we're proud of Stacy for having that opportunity. The grades on AP exams range from 1 to 5, and a grade of 3 or higher can, being the operative word, earn a student college credit. College Board a couple years ago went with these determinations. 5 means that you are extremely well qualified in that subject area, to well qualified, qualified, possibly qualified, and then 1, they don't say that you're unqualified, they just don't make a recommendation based on your performance in that particular subject area. Our AP courses, as enrollment and interest ebbs and flows, we offer some courses some years and some courses are offered in alternating years. We offered AP Physics this last year, but did not offer AP Environmental Science. Next year that will change. We'll have AP Environmental Science and no AP Physics. We're also bringing back AP Studio Art next year. I did not think that we were going to be offering AP United States History, but we have found a wonderful teacher who is coming from an international school in Bulgaria, where she's been for the last 2 years, went to an AP Institute this last week, and will be picking up the AP United States History for us. So how did we do? Just a little historical look over the last couple years. I know that our tendency is to do year-to-year comparisons. I'm not a big fan of that. So I'll show you the last couple years, I'll show you the year-to-year, and then the 3-year rolling average. You can see in 2016, we gave 213 exams, kind of a drop last year to 163. And then this year, we gave 198 exams. And you can see what the averages were for those courses, the breakdown of the number of students that scored 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, and then the comparative score. We do the stoplight highlighting to show the comparison from one year to the next, if there was improvement or decline. I would just caution that the single red there, English literature, this is the second year nationally that English lit scores have dropped. And in talking with Ms. Vaneff, she predicted this. And so that's more important to me, that the teachers know their students and that the grade that they're receiving in the course is mirroring their performance on the test. I wouldn't want students to get a 1 on the AP exam and get a 95 in the course. So I appreciate Anne knowing her students and seeing that. And if you look, the average qualifying score was a 3.0, which is a qualifying score at the end of the day. So proud of the scores this year. I had said last year that I was pleased to present the AP results. This year, I am over the moon to present the AP results. 3-year average, again, looking at the stoplight highlighting, you see improvement in many of our courses. The humanities have always been strong, and they continue to be strong. Stacy Eswald, Ann Faneff, and Peter Panchi each knew that their results this year were not going to be on par with what they have been in the past. So again, it's important to me that they know their students and that their course score is matching their result on the exam, which in every case that happened. So some of the highlights, 7 of the 11 courses that we offer had an average score of 3 or higher. This is super. As a former AP Spanish teacher, 100% of the AP Spanish language students earned a qualifying scores. There were no students that got a 1 or a 2. AP Calculus is really the highlight of the advanced placement program this year. They had 6 students that scored a 5, which is most in program history. That's a third of the students got a 5, which nationally only 19% score a 5 on AP Calculus. First year of AP Computer Science, we had 5 students earn a 5. National average for that was 14.4. Ours again was 31%. So Dr. Williams really deserves our kudos and a pat on the back for some really excellent advanced placement work. 68% of our AP English Lit students achieved a qualifying score, compared with 47% nationally. AP Biology had no scores of 1, which 10 years ago, Dr. Lepre will remember when I was presenting the advanced placement biology results, that was the common score. We were not getting it done in AP Biology, so really want to give a shout out to Heather McDonald for the work that she's doing. 28% of AP seminar students earned a 5, compared to 7.9% nationally. 65% of the English language students, or AP English language students, earned a qualifying score, compared to 57% nationally. Math and science scores were the most impressive. Biology, calculus, chemistry, and stats all saw score gains and improvements. While we had solid scores in the humanities, we followed the national trend where scores in these disciplines saw regression. So if you look at the national AP US history results, the national AP English literature results, those are down for the 2nd consecutive year. And we offer advanced placement programs via virtual high school, and a lot of people get anxious and say, can students really get an advanced placement situation or experience is the word I'm looking for, virtual high school as opposed to a live teacher. And the student that took music theory, which is a very challenging advanced placement course, got a 4. Additional information and next steps. I'm not going to read this to you. Again, people have a preconceived notion about what advanced placement courses are. They are not just for the elite students. They're open to all students who want to put the time and effort into it. AP scores could hurt my GPA. That's an interesting thing because college admissions is such an unwieldy animal. So if you take AP Spanish and get a B minus, and you took honors Spanish and got an A, are they going to say, well, you had the opportunity to take AP and chose not to pursue the most rigorous? So it really, it's a toss-up when it comes to that GPA question for me. And I can't take AP because no one recommended me. Wah, wah. That is not correct here. We offer AP to everybody who wants to take it. So next steps, the College Board is not stingy with data. They give us the breakdown for question by question analysis, how our students scored, how they scored compared to students across the world who take advanced placement. They give planning reports for teachers. I provide teachers those grade and score comparisons because I think that's important. If you're having students getting 1s and 2s and you're giving 90s and 95s, we want to look at that. And so each teacher gets that information from me during the summer. We provide ongoing PD. AP Studio Art and Environmental will return this year, and we will we will continue to encourage students to enroll in our advanced placement courses. And that is, for Dr. Lepre, the 11th time you have heard the advanced placement presentation.
I have a couple of questions. How many students, do a lot of students, take more than one AP course?
Great question. Yes, and to the point, a couple years ago, we had a young man that took 5. And in hindsight, he would tell you that that ruined his senior year because he was spending weekends digging out from coursework from 5 advanced placement courses. Our faculty has considered capping the number and saying you can't take any more than 3, but there are students who take 4 that do just fine. But our guidance counselors are really good at working with parents and families when a student is overextending him or herself.
And what's seminar?
AP Seminar is a course series called an AP Capstone Experience. Seminar is the first course, research is the second course. If students score well in both, they can get a College Board capstone diploma. It's in its simplest form, a writing course, as though you're writing a dissertation. And Paige leads that class very well.
Thank you, sir.
Have we looked at how kids did that were taking multiples? 1, 2, 3, 4.
We do. I won't give you the student's name, but a student that did very well here and is going on to a very well-known school got a 5 on each of the advanced placement courses that she took.
Okay.
Maybe a 4 on one.
Any other questions?
Yep, thanks, Tim. I'm trying to get in the mic here. Do you keep data on students? I'm kind of interested to see the number of the students that took these AP, the diversity of the students, and whether you can provide information on the number of students that might be on IEPs or 504s.
I don't have that information, but I can certainly get it for you.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Sure.
You mean on or had been on?
Either, because it's open enrollment. So I'm just curious. I know just from personal experience that there's a lot of support and recommendations from teachers to encourage kids to take it. But I would just be interested to see the data of students who are on IEPs, 504s, and I'd love to see the diversity of the student body, because I mentioned a couple of weeks ago when I went to the student academic night that I really felt that there was a true representation of our student body as a whole. And I'd love to see if it's translated in the high school. Thank you,
Jen?
John.
No, I'm kind of thinking, have you ever thought of making the test optional? Or the reasons we don't?
Yeah, that comes up. I actually had 2 parents come in to see me this spring that felt that their students' experience in a particular course had not well prepared them for the exam. They didn't think it was worth the investment of each exam. I think is $95 of paying an additional $95 to take that course. It's important for us, for the program, to have the data from the representative group that took that course. And so I wouldn't want students opting out and for us to get a false sense of the data of how that course went.
And does that test impact their grade?
It does not.
Okay. All right, that's good. Thank you.
So just, I think an interesting aside, I was reading an article not too long ago about Palo Alto, where Stanford is. And the students, many students feel a lot of pressure to take as many AP courses as they can to get into the more prestigious schools. And Palo Alto had gone so far as to set up, because of the demand by students, an opportunity to take AP classes before school started. So kids would come in the morning an hour before everybody else so that they could take an extra AP class. And the school district stopped that practice because of their concern for the load that students, against some heavy pressure by parents, not to give up that because they were afraid that their child then wouldn't get into that prestigious school. And interestingly, Stanford and the hospitals in Palo Alto all supported the move to end that practice. So it is something that is a concern to our administration and faculty, is how much is too much, and what price will the kids pay for it. So it's just sort of an interesting.
What, Tim, do you mind? I think that we've seen it through the editorials of Veritas, and we've heard from students who've sat at this table that, looking back, perhaps they wouldn't have taken as many AP classes, and that they would have tried to choose classes that gave them more of a broad range if they didn't feel the pressure of taking certain classes to get into certain schools. So I don't think it's the fault of the school. I just think it's the system itself. And we know, all of us, many students who are in their junior and senior years, stressed to the max, taking as many as they can because they think that's the right thing to do. So I think the system is broken, not our
The
school,
college
but-
acceptance
Yeah,
system.
this college, yes.
Yeah, I would agree.
John, are there schools that don't have AP courses?
There are. Yeah. Some just don't. Some go with a competitive program called the International Baccalaureate program, which is similar to advanced placement, but not run by the College Board. And some schools have opted to do away with. Elite prep schools have moved away, and they create their own system where it's called advanced topics or advanced exploratory in courses, so that they're not tied to the College Board in the exam process.
On the flip side, if I may, for those who qualify, it is a real advantage as they go into college. And sometimes they can get college credit, sometimes they don't get college credit, but they can bypass certain basic courses, and it allows them to get into, to take other courses that are either in their major or of interest. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to.
Piggyback on that, we have a faculty member whose daughter graduated from college a semester early because she was able to generate enough college credit, and so the tuition savings to that family was a semester of college because she took advanced placement coursework here and her college recognized it.
So.
Just on, can I also, sorry, to your point, Tim, of asking whether schools, there are some schools that don't offer it. I know in some of the discussions I had when my kids were in high school, some parents were suggesting, or maybe they had done the research, that if schools do not offer the AP, that the kids coming and graduating from those schools are not penalized through the college process, because colleges are looking for them to take the most rigorous, but if your school is not offering AP, then your students are taking the most rigorous by doing an honors class. So I thought that was an interesting other side to things, but I'm glad that we offer it, and I'm also glad that your faculty and the administration are aware and watching, and guidance are watching the kids to make sure that there's not overdoing it, because
We developed a nice program 2 years ago, credit to Stacy Eswald and Paige Martineau, of an advanced placement night in the spring to bring families and students in to talk about what the courses are, what the expectations will be, what students should know prior to signing up for that course. And so I think it helps to make students and families make better and better informed decisions.
yeah. No, thank you.
Is your warning about taking too many AP courses a prohibition or a warning?
It is not a prohibition. I think our guidance counselors, our school counselors, do a great job of knowing the students on their caseload and seeing the red flags and bringing them back from the edge before they jump.
Okay. Moving on to.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Moving on to school committee and task force assignments.
Whoever's
We have
not
a-
here, sign them up. No.
Do we have a slide of this?
I didn't,
Okay.
for this, I didn't load it, I'm sorry.
Okay.
This, we've shared with you before, but we often update it in the summer as we're about to enter the following year. There were a couple of things that you may want to do. The ad hoc budget is chair and vice chair by definition, but you may want to, and I think talked about putting an alternate on that in case, because it would be particularly hard for you to get there at the time
Unless
of
you're going to
those
take up a
meetings.
collection for
Right.
me, yeah.
So that, you may want to determine that. And then I highlighted the Cape Cod Collaborative because I know that's been extremely difficult for you as well. And you know, I had a question mark suggesting that Steve might be able to do that. You can do that remotely. I think for any board member on Nantucket, it's extremely hard unless you have
can't
the
vote.
remote. I think you can now, if you are there for the whole
Sorry, you can't what?
process.
Vote, because it's televised. It's on the,
Actually, if it's all done properly, you can.
Yeah.
According to town council, with whom I had the opportunity to meet last week for my Town of Nantucket orientation session,
That's right.
and she took us down through all of that. What you have to do to have a remote participant. And if you check off all the boxes and do it the right way, yes, you can
but that's
vote.
for this board. This is the Cape Cod Collaborative is over on the Cape.
If it's a public meeting, you know,
Well, Steve, if you keep talking, you're it.
I know, I already got that sense, in which case I'll add that I think we twice discussed my being your alternate on the budget thing.
I cannot make ad hoc budget. And I
Yeah.
thought, who was signed up for that?
Well, I am because I'm vice chair.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we discussed this.
And as an alternate. Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
Pauline,
This is-
do you have any concerns about that?
Of Jen and Steve
Yeah.
being on that? No.
Okay.
Also, I think we need to add Tim to transfers and invoices.
Okay.
And the snack meetings. We need to talk about that because that's something we spoke that we wanted to have representation there.
I thought we discussed rotating it. No?
Well,
We did, but
I think it's
we haven't-
important to rotate people.
I do think it's important that we show the flag there.
Yeah. But I think a rotation, because
Yeah.
I think everybody,
Do they meet monthly?
they get educated.
It'll be in the refrigerator calendar.
so
Okay.
we need to
Okay.
somehow get on a schedule though, so we can make sure that one of us is attending and reporting back.
Well, I
do you
will
recommend?
tell Michelle to follow up with the school committee so that she will know who's going to which one. Okay?
Yeah, if she does that through Logan, I'll be happy to do the first one. I went to Friends in Nantucket Public Schools' final meeting of the year, so there'd be a certain symmetry to going to snack for their first one. I'd be happy to do that. When will the calendar for that be out?
We could probably get that scheduled to you. I think Logan could probably get that scheduled.
Well, or I can look them up on the web, too.
Yep.
Okay.
And then just under negotiations, you can see which ones are not active, although, as noted a little bit before, it was very active this past year. We negotiated both the custodians and the teacher assistant this past year. And
Who was
so,
on that, Mike? Sorry.
I'm not sure. Were you on one of those?
I'm just
I
looking
might
for
add on
points.
time and on budget.
I'm just looking for brownie points. That's all.
So, yeah, you don't need brownie points because you do so much, but yes, we'll throw them your way. So, coming up will be the ESP, and I think you had determined that Tim and Steve would be on that.
Just as an update, as legislative representative, I have touched bases with Glenn Kuchar and will be touching bases with our legislators about a couple of things. Mike's going to remind me what they are. And just as a passing point of interest, because we had a brief discussion about this a couple of weeks ago, Glenn is not convinced that the MCAS test as it currently exists is any longer writ in stone. With a change of director, or whatever that person was called, he thinks that they might be open to considering reviewing the test. Now, I know that we all still want it to be challenging. I'm not talking about turning it into a third grade reading test, but taking a look at the difficulty level he thought was worthwhile, and I'm going to be speaking with him again about that later this week.
Have you spoken to either of the rep or the senator about the foundation budget?
I have not. Is that one of the two things?
Well, the foundation budget is a big deal because I don't think they did anything with it, but there's a marked asymmetry in it.
I thought, because I have been trying to follow the, whatever you call them, that the school committee association puts out, via email. And I thought there was one recently about that, that the foundation budget was going up, I don't know, 3 or 4%, something like that. But it didn't get into specific towns and how much they get. It got too complicated for me to understand. And that's one of the things that I want to talk to our financial director about before I talk with the legislators. Mike, what was the other thing? Reimbursements?
I
or-
think the other was the level of support for the circuit breaker.
Okay,
Special education monies that can, sometimes the percentages are changed and reduced as the year goes, and that's pretty significant for all school districts, so.
and the legislature can change that annually?
They do.
Okay.
At
And I'll
their
talk-
whim and fancy.
I'll talk then with our financial guy to get a better understanding of both of these. And as I said, I'm talking with Glenn later this week, and then I'll be contacting, I guess we have two legislators, huh?
Well, you got a senator and you got a rep,
Right,
but neither one of them live here.
understood.
They have a representative here, and I forget his name.
Dylan. Not Dylan. Fernandez.
Well, Glenn did say I could contact them directly. I just want to know a little more about what I'm talking about before I do that.
And we also ought to see, when they come out, if we could go down there.
Set up a meeting with them.
Yeah,
I mean, they periodically come on there.
I know, but
I
it's,
get letters every once in
it's
a while.
nice to put your face in
Yep.
front of them, like when I grabbed you and brought you down to whichever of the miscreants.
Okay,
Okay. Policies, new for the first reading. Educational opportunities for military children.
Jen, do you want to jump in or do you want me to?
You can, I mean, I think we're pretty,
These are two
Standard.
new policies that were recently sent in the batch that Mask sends us. They're pretty boilerplate policies to the one on military children is particularly important to the communities like Devon's that has a lot of military families on it. And just some definitions and some assurances. I think it's really more assurances as I read it. And then the one on foster care is similar and is governed by not only DZ, but the Department of Children and Families, DCF. And again, there are some assurances. I don't see anything there that significantly alters the landscape for Nantucket Public Schools.
So the only question I had is what brought it up now?
My guess is that somebody, it was a hot button for somebody in the legislature who passed it on to Mask. But it could be sometimes the what comes to Mask is coming from the federal government. So,
So it might be recent legislation
Yep.
or,
Yep.
okay.
And as you know, when we have new policies, we just share them with you for a first reading. And if you have any concerns prior to our next meeting, we'll bring them back for approval at that time, hopefully.
Okay, moving on to committee discussion and votes to be taken. A vote to approve CPS 8th grade field trip to Washington DC, April 23rd to the 26th, 2019. Can I have a motion to approve?
so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A vote to approve the donation from the Nantucket Land Council, Inc. to the Nantucket Public Schools for purchase of engineering as elementary kits for grades 1 to 5 summer school in the amount of $3,415. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A vote to amend policy BEDG minutes.
I believe we ought to refer this to town council. I don't know where it came from.
Came from Mask.
Came from Mask, okay. At my orientation session last week, town council was very specific, even to the point of vehemence, about what had to be included in minutes. And she showed us the legislation. I looked up the Code of Mass regs, and I believe we actually do what we're supposed to do
Currently,
currently.
yes.
But this is not consistent with that in a couple of places. First of all, in the first set of red language, it should read a summary of discussions of each subject, and that's directly from the code. And I don't know what this note is at the end. If it appears, if it is as it appears to be about executive session, then it's not consistent with the Code of Mass Regs either. The code says all meetings, including executive sessions, shall include a summary of discussions on each subject. And this seems to me to state that a summary of those discussions will only happen if we vote for it. So that's not consistent with,
So this came
code.
up in policies, and I feel like Zona and I felt the same. We didn't agree with the note, and we prefer our minutes as they are now, so we brought it up. We wanted to bring this up for discussion
Yeah.
at this meeting.
and I'll admit, I was wrong when I said to you folks the last time we met, that minutes only had to include motions, votes taken, etc.
Which is what they're saying.
It changed
However-
in 2010. I mean, she cited the year
Right.
at the meeting that all changed. So I don't think, I think we have to add that language up in number 1, a summary. What was the language that I had?
Summary of the discussion.
A summary
Discussions.
of the discussions on each subject. And then, even for executive sessions, it can't be by vote of the committee. I don't think it's a problem. I think we should run this by town council and let her tell us what to do. She seemed to be on top of it.
What do you mean by a vote of the committee, Steve?
Well, it says here in the note, the last note, the red one, comments and/or discussion should only be included in the minutes as a result of a vote of the committee.
So, if I may, this was from Mask. Jen is right. We weren't totally comfortable with it, but we wanted to share it with the full committee because that's what Mask sent us. I think we do have the proper process right now. I think that what they're trying to emphasize is that some people expect the minutes to be a transcript, and that is not the purpose of minutes. And I'm taking license with interpreting it that way. I think the first step would not necessarily be to go to town council. I think it would be to go to Mask, Glenn Kuchar's organization, and say, you know, we have a question about this. This doesn't necessarily seem to follow either our practice or the regulations. This is not about executive sessions. It just the cross-reference is for the whole policy.
Okay.
As for a vote to be taken, when you are in executive session, you can take a vote to seal the minutes of an executive session should you not want to divulge those minutes. You still ultimately have to share them with the community for transparency, but you can seal them for a certain amount of time because of some effect that they may have on negotiations, or certainly if they were to impugn somebody's character. So there are some conflicting things. I would suggest that you direct the policy subcommittee to get back in touch with Mr. Kuchar first.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I actually thought that this was just up for discussion and not vote. The one that I thought we were going to be voting on was the crowdfunding.
No, that wasn't ready to come
Okay,
back.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
For what funding?
Crowdfunding.
Oh, if it's just a cow funding,
So the
okay.
policy,
So the policy subcommittee will
okay.
further review the minutes.
So we will table that?
Recommendation from Mask.
The draft calendar, 1920.
So if I can speak to that, that is under votes to be taken. I would suggest that you not take a vote to approve that. This is for the 1920. I would like to give the administration one more opportunity to share it with faculty. And I think that would be smart to do, and then bring back in maybe the second September meeting.
Okay,
for a vote.
I should be looking at it. When you say 20, do you mean 1920?
Yes,
19/20.
1920.
Yep, draft 2.
So that would be my recommendation to the school committee.
Makes sense.
Can I have a motion to table that?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. July 10th, the meeting minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review?
I had a look, move to approve.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Transfers and invoices. Can I have a motion to approve?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mike?
The first thing I wanted to share was something on the employee assistance program, and I have something that Tess D'Alberti, who runs Fair Winds. And if I can ask the administrators to pass that around the room. I think the school committee knows that we have outsourced our employee assistance program to Fair Winds. This gives you an idea. This is something that Tess has suggested that we send out to the faculty this year. We haven't really done that, but we have mentioned it at the beginning of every school year. It didn't get a lot of use this past year, and Tess and I met to talk about A, how do we get the message out a little broader, and B, maybe we don't cap it on 3 free appointments, that we change that, because if we're paying a monthly fee and we're not getting much use out of it, why would we cap it to the people who do use it? So I think that's something that we are going to either raise the cap or have a discussion in negotiations with Fair Winds about how we use this effectively and that it's a good use of our financial resources. For those families that do use it, this gives you an example of some of the things that they might use it for, and I think it is very important to those people who do use it.
I think it's a good idea to send it out, though, by email, instead of just mentioning it
Yeah, I
at
think
the
so,
first big
too.
meeting.
I think so.
If people look
reminder.
at the kinds of uses that they might put it to, could be a good reminder. or-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's
Mike,
important.
who provides EAP services to the town?
I don't know that. I'll find out.
Because I thought we would have been a participant in that same.
I don't know. I will ask. I don't even know if they have one,
Oh, of course I have.
but I would imagine so.
So when did we, I'm so sorry, through Tim, when did we start this program? with our
We've
staff?
done this for, I think, 7 years, maybe?
It's been years.
It's
Yeah,
been quite a while, yeah.
quite a while.
Yeah.
And there's a monthly fee that we have sort of institutionalized by now. And, it's sort of like a contract for snow plowing. One year, you're going to get a lot of snow, and you win because the contract was for only so much, and another year, it's the reverse. But I think it's an important resource for our staff, for the health and safety of our staff.
Tim, through you to Mike. Do we ever do a follow-up with staff? And I guess it would be hard to only do a blind survey maybe, or a confidential survey. It'd be interesting to follow up to see the folks who are getting served, if they're happy with the service, or are they able to get the appointments as they need. It'd be interesting to just have an idea of numbers of
Yeah.
folks who are
It's-
utilizing it.
That's really hard because you outsource this on purpose
Right.
so that people have the confidence that it's not connected to the schools and that their names aren't coming back to the schools. So each year I ask Tess for a little breakdown of the number of people served and the sorts of things. I'm not sure how successful that would be, Pauline. I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, because it starts to bring them together in the minds
Cross
of
the
the
line.
people
Cross
who
the
are
line.
Yeah,
using it,
right. Cross the
and
line.
cross those lines. And I think that the comfort level of responding to that, even in a blind, I don't know.
Yeah, but at least maybe getting a number. I mean, I remember, I don't know if we started it the year that we began the suicide contagion, but I remember Nancy Rappaport was the person who was providing the support. But I don't know. I think it's great emailing it out, because I wonder if all of our staff
Yeah.
know about it and know. And I think with the change of doing more than 3 outpatient service appointments would be important. I'm just curious, do people know about this?
I think that's really interesting to see if people do respond to the survey, but I'd also, I mean, I remember there were some staff members before I was on school committee who missed having the gym memberships. I'm not sure what was offered, but there was a discount or, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's really useful to help alleviate stress, to give people the access to, that kind of healthy lifestyle. So it would just be interesting to kind of see, would people be more interested in doing something like, a discount on a gym membership than going to seek counseling and be a little more proactive in keeping people's stress levels down? Just out of curiosity.
Is it a collective bargaining issue?
EAP is not a collective bargaining issue. It's just something that we have, as a school committee and district, decided to commit itself to. The other, in a couple of the first years that I was here, and lean years in the budget, is when that went out, what Jen is talking about, went out of that was in the contract. But EAP has not been in the contract.
And maybe a reminder, and I'm sure community school will do this at the beginning of the, you know where I'm going with this, don't you? That the free Paul membership, I think, is a huge benefit to all of our
That's huge.
staff. So, and I know they'll be reminded of that.
And I don't think that the association has any problem with giveaways. Now, I can't speak for them any longer, but if you're just offering something for free, I don't see how that would necessitate any kind of bargaining.
I'm just a proponent of being proactive, and if we know exercise helps relieve stress and anxiety, and maybe we offer that instead of counseling, which we would then, which they could obtain on their own if the exercise component didn't work for them. That's just my thought.
Maybe we could have compulsory calisthenics in the morning before class.
Yeah, I wouldn't say instead of, because I think that there are folks who absolutely
Yeah.
would benefit. I wouldn't.
I mean, Mike would know best. Are we getting any referrals? If there are any people who are taking advantage of it, I would hate to take it away.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we should
Right.
take it
No.
away at all.
Right.
But it would be interesting to see if it's utilized, and might give us an idea of, do our staff really know about it? And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I was trying to say.
No, I think it's important. Okay. Professional teacher status?
Yes, I'm not sure who asked for this, and it was something that ended up being put on the annual report. But we had 2 teachers at the elementary school, 1 at the intermediate, 2 at the middle school, and 5 teachers at the high school. Professional teacher status is achieved once they have taught for 3 years in the system and are properly certified, and it gives them some protections in the Mass General Law, actually. So each year we have a number of teachers who have taught those 3 years successfully and have met the certification, and we send out letters to them. I didn't think it was necessarily appropriate to list those or name those people today. I have them if the school committee, wants to look at that.
If I may ask, was anyone who was technically qualified denied?
There is one person. Yep.
And is that an ongoing process, or is that a done deal?
Well, I don't think that would be appropriate to talk about in a school committee meeting.
I think that
Okay.
is a tender subject, and I don't think it should be either. On the horizon?
On the horizon, we pushed the ELL PAC report to next meeting, and that's because Kelly is still recovering and hobbling. We'll move the draft calendar to a September for action. And next meeting, we'll have the financial reports for the fourth quarter, and that includes food service and community school. We will also authorize any new student accounts. Sometimes those roll forward from one school to the next, or there's a new request. We hope to have an MOU with the Cape Cod Child Development. That's for our Head Start program. They're having some staffing challenges, so I'm hopeful that that will continue. And then school handbook changes, usually fairly minimal, but we will bring those to you at the second August meeting, and then a discussion of technology use, which was requested. Moving forward to September, we'll start getting into budget planning calendar, budget directives, school improvement plans. Usually in September, we have a report from, it'll be Tracy Roberts on the community school summer programs, and Mike Horton and probably Andrea Marr and Jean will report on the other summer programs that we have had. And I think last year we had asked to meet with the school resource officers, so I've put that on the list as well. There were a couple of things that came out of the school committee retreat, and I thought I should mention them because you had mentioned to me that you'd like to have them on the horizon. One was, I believe, student conduct, if I remember correctly. And then the other was school committee openings that may be coming up this year. Am I correct on that? So I don't know when we want to schedule those. I think the student conduct sometime in September might be appropriate, and the school committee opening at your pleasure.
I think we should get a rolling in September and then maybe put it in October.
Okay.
I'm sorry, do what in September and then
Sort
October?
of get the school rolling, moving ahead,
Yeah.
everything in place, and then start having these discussions maybe in October.
For student conduct as well?
Well, I think, I'm not sure that at the beginning of school conduct is what I would jump on. I'd like to
Yeah.
get school rolling and everybody in place, and then maybe the end of September.
Yeah, I just thought it might be nice to have the school resource officers here if we're talking about
Yeah,
conduct and see.
agreed.
like-
So maybe the second meeting in September,
So I can-
after school's gotten started.
I know I was at the table, and maybe I've just got a bad memory, but what would the discussion be on the school committee positions? Is it a discussion, presentation?
We're talking
or-
about the.
No, it's not a presentation. I think just edification for the community
Okay,
was
All right,
the
it's just-
purpose of that.
okay.
Disclosure.
The enticing opportunity to be here every Tuesday,
Every other Tuesday.
every other Tuesday.
And it's not on here, but I thought if I could just report quickly on hiring, and that's
Yeah,
on
please.
everybody's mind. We have filled the positions at this point at the elementary school, including the new preschool position and a new TA for the preschool. We have had several late resignations that continue to frustrate us as an administrative team. We had an ESP opening and a fourth grade opening in the last week or so, and just this morning, a speech language therapist. And I've said this before, this is something that I believe in negotiations needs a strong stance by the school committee. It is, our job for recruiting on island is difficult enough with housing, but when these are coming mid-August, it is unfair to our students and unprofessional. So in the intermediate school, we've filled a fourth grade position. We are hiring another guidance counselor so that we will have 2 guidance counselors at NES and 2 at NIS. I think I reported to you before that we've added a librarian for the middle school to go along with the librarian at the high school. We're looking now at the position of a dean of students. I expect that will go out and be posted with a job description tomorrow. We've hired a testing coordinator at the high school that's sort of testing coordinator and innovations pathways person supported by the grant. So we've added a significant number of positions that should give us the human resources that we need in each of the schools.
Mike, can I just ask a question? The Dean of Students, will that be district-wide?
No, that will be at the middle school.
Thank you.
Are we in need of any staff in the middle or high school currently?
Are we in need of?
Are we looking to hire now?
Right,
to
no, we're,
fill
the high
positions?
school is, this is the kiss of death.
Don't say it.
So I
Don't
really
say
don't
it.
want to say it. but-
This isn't real wood,
Just no.
so be
This is,
careful.
That's fine.
so the high school's in pretty good shape right now. The middle school has some support personnel that we're looking for. The guidance counselor we're sort of late in the game looking at that. And the speech language therapist is going to be, that's a dagger. And we'll have to do the best that we can.
Thank you.
Any subcommittee work? Safety and security?
No, safety and security has not met. Oh, but I will say, I noticed that, if I can say, thank you to Diane O'Neill and Facilities for the numbering of the outside building. I noticed that each door has a number, and I'm appreciative. Thank you.
And also on safety and security, I think it's interesting to note that there was a wonderful event today at the elementary schools. If
Oh, yeah, I
you
didn't
drove
get
by
that.
with emergency response from police, fire, we had the med flight there, and it was just a wonderful event. And kids from camps all over the island, not just ours, were there. And I shamelessly admit that I crawled into the cockpit and had a picture taken that I sent to my grandson. I grew up on Army aviation, a helicopter base. So, but the inside of that helicopter looks nothing like what I remembered.
No,
and it's all digitized.
And it's very small
Yeah, so-
and very uncomfortable. I know.
Did any of you get T-shirts?
I got my grandson a T-shirt. I did.
Just to report out on Nantucket Education Trust, we're meeting regularly. John Riccio and Mike and myself held a tenants meeting, first ever. And we had about 50% of our tenants, I think, show up for the meeting. And we're actively putting in some improvements. And one of them is going to be lining the parking lot down at Cow Pond Lane so that we're not getting an overflow of non-tenants parking down there. And I think we've got a few good new improvements in hand, and I think they were appreciated by the people in the meeting. So thanks to John and Mike, because I think it's not always easy to meet people face to face. but I think it went very well, and I think it was appreciated.
And if I get a tag on to that.
Sure.
I would say that by October, out of the 12 units, all 12 units will house school, town, or hospital employees. And that hasn't always been the case for quite a few years. So it's back to its original design in that way.
Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.